Let's take a look at some other stories in the headlines. Several NATO countries have ruled out sending ground troops to Ukraine. It comes after French President Emmanuel Macron said nothing should be excluded in support of Kyiv. The White House insisted that the US would not deploy soldiers to fight the Russian invasion. The leaders of Germany, Italy and Britain made similar statements. Police in Germany have arrested a former member of the far-left Red Army faction who had been in hiding for 30 years. Daniela Kletter was detained in Berlin and taken to a region near Bremen, where she's awaiting trial for her suspected involvement in several robberies. The anti-capitalist group, also known as Baader-Meinhof Group, is accused of more than 30 murders. A DNA test has confirmed that a terminally ill man who claimed to be one of Japan's most wanted criminals was telling the truth. Satoshi Kirishima said he wanted to face his death last month using his real name. He was a member of a radical left-wing group behind a series of deadly bombings in the 1970s. Kirishima had been on the run for nearly 50 years. And two men have been convicted of the murder of Jam Master Jay from the American hip-hop trio Run-DMC more than 20 years ago. Ronald Washington and Carl Jordan Jr. were found guilty on all counts, including drug trafficking. Jam Master Jay, whose real name is Jason Mizell, was shot dead in his Queens studio in New York in October 2002. The men face at least 20 years in prison. To the video sharing app TikTok, where it says it has started removing many songs from its platform. It comes after the world's biggest record label, Universal Music, withdrew permission for them to be used on TikTok in a row over money. Now let's turn to South Korea, where figures released later today are expected to show that the country has once again the lowest birth rate in the world. Based on 2022 figures, the average South Korean woman is expected to have 0.78 children in her lifetime. For a population to hold steady, that number should be 2.1. Comparing that to other countries, Japan's birth rate was 1.26 children per woman in 2022 and decreased by 5.1% in the past year, whereas in the UK, that average number currently sits at 1.49. Let's turn to Australia now, where detectives searching for two men believed to have been murdered by a police officer say they have found two bodies. Police allege that Jesse Baird and his partner Luke Davis were shot over a week ago at a house in Sydney. In an update, authorities said they'd found remains on a remote property roughly 2 hours southwest of Sydney. The pair's families have been told of the developments. Suspect, police officer Beau Lamar Condon, was charged late last week after handing himself in. Now, one of Russia's best-known human rights campaigners has been jailed by a Moscow court for discrediting the Russian army. Oleg Orlov, who's 70, has been given 2.5 years sentence. He's previously written that President Putin has led the country into fascism.
Astronomers have discovered an early monster galaxy, larger than the Milky Way, apparently, from just 11 billion years ago.
Yes. Scientists say the discovery could completely change our understanding of the evolution of the universe, which relies on the idea that there were far fewer massive galaxies that long ago. This feels like very big news, John, to be right at the end of our news bulletin.
In at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's quite a big headline.
But even more important than that, what's the weather like, Carol?